Hey friends, Graham here from therecordingrevolution.com. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I want to talk really quickly about the magic of reference tracks. Earlier this week, I wrote about using a reference track in your mix as probably the best hack you could ever do for your mixes. Now, people who think this isn't a hack, they don't understand that most people aren't doing this. The average home studio person who's getting into mixing doesn't realize how much power there is to bringing in a professionally mixed track into your session and referencing it, checking it, and comparing it to your mix. Now, people don't like to do it because it makes you embarrassed about how bad your mix sounds, and you start to dwell on the things that are wrong with your mix, and you can get depressed pretty easily. At least that's the way it was for me. And so I would refuse to listen to it. I just wanted to feel good about my mix. But if our goal is to churn out a great mix, then we have to reference good mixes. That's actually a hack to force us to change our mix to sound better and to hear the flaws in our room or hear our flaws in our ears, the way we mishear things, and know what good tonal balance is. So if you want to know more about that whole process, go check out that article. But today I wanted to show you the exact same process, but in mastering, because it's a great tool for mastering as well, especially if you're mastering at home. And if you've never referenced anything in your mixing process and you're self-mastering your own project, this is your final chance to get it right. So it's a very helpful tool, and I use it for mastering for clients all the time. And so it's the same principle, but in mastering it's a lot easier to just show you what's going on. I briefly want to show you a track that I had a while back. I was mastering for a client, and you could hear the final mix that he gave me. And the problem is in mastering, you don't know if anything's wrong with it. If you hear a problem, I could go tweak it. But if it sounds okay, and I might have some preferences of how I would like it to be more balanced, I can tweak that. But what I really want to know is, as a mastering engineer or as a mixing engineer, is I want to know how will this hold up compared to something similar, in a similar genre with similar instrumentation. Is it way off the mark? I'm not going to make something sound identical to another mix because it was a different band, a different performance, different instrumentation, different tones they chose. But I want to get the tonal balance and their overall vibe close, and I need to reference something else. And so I want to show you what that can look like, and I won't take too much of your time, but it's a really, really helpful tool. This will hopefully unlock something for you if you're not using reference tracks, or if you've heard about it and you're like, that's a great idea, but you're not doing it, you're missing out. Okay, so here is the final mix of a song.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you. The God of heaven's calling us to his arms. And all.
Okay, mix sounds great, in really, really great shape. You might have some things you might want to change to it in the mastering phase, but there's no real problems. What I care more about is what does a real finished mix that's in a similar genre sound like right now. So what I have in Studio One is another session where I've got some reference tracks, various tracks for different genres, and in this case I've got one from a very similar genre, very similar instrumentation. This is a final mastered track that I've pulled the volume down of.
Hey now, fill our hearts with your compassion. Hey now, as we hold to our confession. Whoa, God be the solution. Whoa, we will be your hands and be your feet. Yeah.
All right. So differences, right? You can maybe take note of what you hear differently. Here's the original that I'm mastering.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you.
And here is the reference.
Hey now, fill our hearts with your compassion. Hey now, as we hold to our confession. Whoa.
What I hear is less low-mid build-up. Like this sounds a lot clearer than the one that I'm working on. So I noticed there must be some more low-mid stuff in my mix that needs to come out because I don't hear that in this mix. This mix sounds a little brighter, this final master. I hear the top end a little more in the snare and the vocals, on the edge of the guitars. The guitars are more, they're mixed louder in this mix. I hear them more out on the edge, hard panned. And compared to the one I'm working on, that sounds a little more panned tighter. Doesn't seem as wide, doesn't seem like the guitars are as present. And listen, if I move later into the chorus here, here's the reference, and then I'll flip back to my mix. That's where those guitars are. Here's mine.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you.
They're just a little more muffled, a little less present. So that I need that reference to tell me things, to show me what a good finished master sounds like. And in your case, in mixing, same thing. You just pull the volume down. It tells you what a good mix sounds like. And so what I did was then go to try to take this good sounding mix and bring it closer to that final master that I'm referencing. And it's only going to enhance it. It's only going to bring out the best qualities of it. So I did a couple of things. I've got 4 plugins that I'm using. The first one, actually 5. The first one is really to bring up the overall volume of this track compared to the other ones. Not really relevant to our video today. It's just a gain thing. The biggest one is an EQ, okay? And in this case, I've scooped out 3 frequencies. I scooped out 143, I scooped out 337, and I scooped out 647. Little bits here. We're looking at 2 dB, 3 dB, 1.5 dB of cuts. I also have a little bit of a boost, a shelf at about 5K, 2.5 dB. A little bit bigger of a shelf than I typically would do, but I was trying to get some more air on this mix. Okay, so bringing in the EQ makes a pretty good change. I'll turn it off and I'll turn it on here in a second.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you. The God of heaven's calling us to his arms.
Did you hear that? I'll bypass it now.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you. The God of heaven's calling us to his arms. And all we are belongs to you. May everything we...
So just like we're doing in a lot of EQing in the mixing phase, we're subtracting things that don't need to be there. So little cuts are clearing up this mix a lot. So the EQ is helping a lot. The other thing that I felt I liked about the master was how the guitars were real wide and they were real present. And I can't really change the panning of this track necessarily, but in mastering you can still do things like stereo widening. And in Studio One they have a really cool plugin called Binaural Pan, and it literally allows you to turn up the outsides of a mix a little bit more. So it makes a mix sound wider, but it's just taking whatever's on the outside and it's turning them up and it's doing some pseudo magic underneath. But this at 125% makes a big difference. I'll pop this on.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you. The God of heaven's...
Right? Guitars get wider. The background vocals that are on the left and the right, they get wider and more present. It widens out the mix. Pretty big difference. I'll turn it on and turn it off.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you. The God of heaven's calling us to his arms. And all we are belongs to you. May everything we...
Already there, I'm really feeling like the mix is getting closer to the reference. And then just a couple other ones that I'm passing things through. A little bit of Steven Slate's Virtual Console, the Neve. This just fattens up things, kick and snare. I like the tone of this. I felt like it thickened things up in a good way without bad thickening. And then I love the FG Mu, which for me, I just pass audio through. I don't even use it as a compressor. I just use it as a harmonic exciter, basically. It adds cool harmonics, which continue to open up and brighten up the mix a little bit in a good way. And so you can hear what those are doing as well. I can turn them both on and off with this little blue button here.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you. The God of heaven's calling us to his arms. And all we are belongs to you. May everything we ever do be only ever for...
All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag these guys down. So I can do them in one shot for you. Turn them on and off. So one switch will turn off or on the EQ, the binaural pan, the virtual console, and the compressor. That way you can hear a big on or off difference of what's going on. And then I'll compare it to the reference because that's all that really matters. So so let's start with it on and then I'll kick it off.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you. The God of heaven's calling us to his arms. And all we are belongs to you. May everything we ever do be only ever for your glory, Lord.
Huge difference, right? But I'm not just trying to change things to change them. I'm really trying to make these changes to sound like the other track. So let's see if that's what's going on. That's all that really matters. So here's my now mastered track.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing.
Let's flip over to the reference. Back.
Let all the praises run to you. May all our singing be for you.
Back.
Let all the praises run to you.
All right. Much better, much closer compared to what it used to be.
Let all the praises run to you.
Muffled, tighter panning. Now this is going to be open and wider.
Let all the praises run to you.
And that's what we're trying to do. This mix is never going to sound exactly like that reference. It's just not going to happen. That's not what we're trying to do. The magic of a reference track is that it gives you a map for what good tonal balance sounds like. Where's the kick drum sound like? What do the guitars sound like? What is the top end? What's happening in the low mids? You don't have to know anything about anything. All you have to do is listen to a good reference that's in a very similar genre with similar instrumentation, and then study it for a minute and decide what is it about that track that sounds the way it is, and then compare it to your track and notice what's different. And then go to work to try to get your mix, whether in the mixing phase or in this case in the mastering phase, to just be brought closer in line to that professional master. Because we're going to use reference tracks to give us an indicator of what is good, what is approved, what is going to translate on lots of different speakers. And man, if you skip this step, if you don't use this simple technique, then you are mixing completely blind. And it's almost, I almost want to say it's arrogant to think that you know what a great mix should sound like apart from any reference whatsoever. Now, you do know what a good mix sounds like because you're an artist, you're a musician. You don't need someone to tell you what's good music, but we're always in isolation. You know, we're mixing in isolation, and we will make bad decisions because our memory will get a little faded. We'll think, yeah, guitars are supposed to be that loud, but they might not be. And yes, there's no right or wrong, but having a reference that you like, that you already think, I think this is a great mix, especially if it's a similar vibe to what you're working on, that's just a point of reference for you to go, oh yeah, that's right. As much as I like those guitars, they're not nearly as loud as I thought, and it just might affect the way you mix in a good way. And I think it'll take your ideas, your taste, the way you hear music, and just keep it in such a way that it will translate well, it'll be balanced well. And it's an educational tool as well. You learn a lot about good mixing, you learn a lot about tonal things, panning, effects, decisions, and stuff that were made along the way. So I really challenge you, if any of you watching this have not or still are not using reference tracks either in the mixing phase or in the mastering phase, to do it. Do it on your next few mixes. Fight through the frustration of how much better these professional tracks will sound to you than yours initially, and ignore it. Don't lose confidence, don't lose hope, but instead use it as a tool to motivate you to get your mix closer, better, push it to the next level with some simple EQ, compression, all that kind of stuff. It's very, very simple to get there. Just take it, use it, don't ignore it. It could be your best friend. Hope that helps. Again, this is Graham at therecordingrevolution.com. Let me know what you think about reference tracks. Leave a comment below the video. If you like videos like this, if they've helped you, do me a favor and subscribe. That way you will know when the next video comes out. And also, if you are just living on YouTube land and you haven't been over to the site, haven't downloaded all the free stuff there, check it out right now. Click on the link, click on the little button that comes up to go over and I got a free ebook that will tell you my entire philosophy of recording and mixing, as well as choosing gear and spending money wisely. I got a whole video series for you that you can download that'll teach you a whole way to prep your mixes before you get into the nitty-gritty to start the smart way. It's all free. Plus, you'll get on the mailing list where I send out bonus content every week that I don't post anywhere else. So my most loyal followers, fans, the people that like the content the most are kind of living there. And I really would recommend you do that if it's helpful to you. If not, go watch something else. Have a great week. I'll see you guys soon.